Chapter 21. The Cain Code. The archetype of exile and empire across the East. Every civilization begins with a dream. A flicker of memory from the sacred, something whole, something ordered, something in rhythm. But over time, that dream frays. It gets rewritten in blood and law, crowned and crucified until it becomes something else entirely. A myth of control. A script of forgetting. That forgetting is not unique to the West. It is not the exclusive sin of colonizers or emperors. It is a human fracture, global, generational, elemental. Even in the East, where spirits still dwell in stones and temples still hum with breath, the sacred has been repackaged, institutionalized, or suppressed. In China, once the land of dragons and Tao, of immortal sages and cosmic alchemy, the state now monitors belief as if it were a contagion. Temples stand, but silence their mysteries. Ancestors are remembered in practice, but not always in presence. Taoism, once the pulse of natural harmony, has been turned into a performance or a novelty. Its core, wu-wei non-action, drowned beneath forced modern productivity. Confucianism, designed as a system of ethics rooted in reverence, was hijacked by dynasties to enforce social hierarchy. Harmony became obedience. Virtue became surveillance. What once guided the soul now disciplines the citizen. And Japan, elegant and strange in its spiritual paradox, remembers the gods in cherry blossoms and tea ceremonies, but forgets them in concrete cubicles and neon prayers to productivity. Shinto and Buddhism dance, but they do so behind glass. Festivals bloom with color, but often without initiation. The kami, those divine spirits in wind and waterfall, are still there, but rarely spoken to with the ancient tongue. The mystic is now a mascot, the ritual a routine. And yet, beneath it all, a quiet reverence remains, a refusal to desecrate completely, a memory trying not to vanish. These lands are not lost, but they are suspended between remembering and rebranding. The sacred is not dead, but it has been packaged, exported, institutionalized, or policed. Even the traditions that tried to preserve balance became tools of empire when touched by human hunger. Dynasties rose claiming heaven's mandate, but twisted heaven into hierarchy. Emperors aligned with Tao not to dissolve ego, but to deify it. Samurai carried Zen in one hand and war in the other. Harmony was made to serve power. This isn't a condemnation, it's a pattern, the same pattern we've traced across continents. From the Vatican vaults to desert empires, from indigenous lands to Silicon temples. A pattern of forgetting sacred relationship, of turning mystery into mechanism, wisdom into weapon, the rise of the Cain archetype. Cain, the firstborn of Adam and Eve, marked not just by fratricide, but by exile. His story is not just a myth, it's an archetype, the birth of separation. The moment the human psyche split from the land, from the brother, from the source. Cain's offering was refused because it lacked reverence. He gave not from communion, but from obligation, from ego. And when he was told no, he turned his face against love and spilled his brother's blood. This is not just history. It is a psychic template that has shaped entire civilizations. The Cain line is the corrupted masculine, not the divine masculine, which protects, builds, honors, and roots itself in the sacred order, but the distorted one. The builder of cities without spirit, the forger of weapons, the keeper of law without heart. Every male-centric system that rose across Earth, whether through sword, scripture, or science, carries this fracture. A will to dominate, to conquer, to define. A fear of mystery disguised as rationalism. A grief so deep it became rage. This is Cain's lineage, and we have all inherited it. You see it in patriarchy, not as men versus women, but as structure versus soul. You see it in the religions that stripped the earth of divinity, that exiled the goddess, that made spirit masculine and matter sinful. You see it in empires that call obedience wisdom and call conquest destiny. You see it in systems that deny emotion, suppress intuition, and mock the unseen. This isn't just about men. Women, too, have been asked to perform within this system. To be acceptable, they were told, they must distance themselves from their elemental nature. Too loud, too emotional, too wild, the Cain system says, be less. But the divine masculine was never meant to rule by fear. He was meant to stand beside the earth, not above her. He was meant to hold space for mystery, not banish it. In the beginning, the masculine and feminine were partners in a cosmic dance, action and receptivity, direction and flow, structure and spirit. Together they built worlds. But when the masculine forgot the sacred and tried to become God instead of serve it, the dance became a war. Now the planet suffers the fallout, not just ecologically but spiritually. Because when the divine masculine forgets his role, the whole system loses balance. He no longer guards the gate. He builds walls around it. He no longer protects the sacred. He profits from its desecration, and in doing so, he forgets himself. What we see today in China's spiritual suppression, in Japan's ritual hollowing, and the West's commodification of soul is the same pattern: disconnection. Systems built on domination instead of alignment, progress without purpose, belief without embodiment, religion without reverence, science without soul, governments that silence visionaries, cultures that medicate mystics, societies that punish slowness, softness, silence. Spiritual decay is not just loss of religion. It's the loss of relationship, to the land, to the stars, to the breath, to the moment. It is the loss of rhythm, the forgetting of how to move with the Tao, how to speak with the Kami, how to listen to the ancestors whispering through wind and bone. We are not just technologically advanced. We are ritually starved, elementally dysregulated, soulfully displaced. But here's the thing: the dream is not dead. Beneath the ruins, the sacred hums. In temples watched by security cameras, incense still carries prayer. In cities choked by glass and grief, there are still doorways in alley shrines, in quiet gardens, in the breath between commutes. The land remembers, and the soul does too. The Cain archetype is not the end. It is the wound, the warning, and maybe the beginning of redemption, because even Cain was marked not just for punishment, but for protection, a reminder that even the lost are still loved. The corrupted masculine can be healed, but not through more conquest, through remembrance, through sacred humility, through elemental reconnection. This chapter of history, of humanity, of the book, doesn't end in despair. It ends in reckoning. The realization that no culture is immune to imbalance, that no lineage is free from forgetting, and that no system, not science, not scripture, not state, can replace the sacred relationship between soul and source. There is no East versus West. There is only forgetting versus remembering, and we are all somewhere on that spiral. So now, as the old world fractures, and the sacred begins to rise through the cracks, what will you do with your remembering? Because it starts there. A breath, a prayer, a seed of balance carried by your own hands.